Take a deep breath. Allow the hush of night to settle around you, and drift with me into the forgotten world of the old gods, where powers shimmer like starlight, and even immortals long to be remembered. We begin at the very top, with the ruler of the heavens, a god not born to peace, but to rebellion. Zeus, lord of the skies, rose from the shadows of fear. His father, Kronos, in a bid to protect his throne, swallowed every child at birth. But Zeus was saved. His mother, Rhea, tricked Kronos with a stone swaddled in cloth. While the Titan choked on deception, the child was hidden away in secret. Years passed. Zeus, now grown, challenged the old world. He forced Kronos to release his swallowed siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hestia, Hera, and Demeter. Together, they waged a war against the Titans. When the dust cleared, Olympus was theirs. Zeus took the skies as his dominion. Thunder became his voice. Justice, in theory, his purpose. But like many rulers, what he preached and what he practiced seldom aligned. You see, Zeus was unpredictable, not cruel, not kind, simply unbound. He took the form of animals, storms, illusions, whatever form could bring him closer to mortals and goddesses alike. His desires were many, his promises rarely kept. While temples bore his name, many whispered about his recklessness. For Zeus was as much a storm as he was a king, admired and feared in equal measure. And standing beside him, though often behind, was Hera, the goddess of marriage, of family, of sacred vows. Ironically so, because her marriage to Zeus was anything but sacred. It was loud, bitter, and relentless. She was his wife and his sister, bound by blood and oath. But unlike Zeus, Hera was steady, cold as marble, fierce as fire. When wrong, she did not forget. Her wrath was not loud, but sharp, calculated, eternal. And though Zeus betrayed her countless times, with nymphs, mortals, even clouds and stars, she rarely turned her fury toward him. Instead, her vengeance fell upon his lovers and the children born of his affairs. She once turned a woman into a cow. Another, cursed to speak only in echoes. She sent serpents to strangle the infant Hercules, her husband's son, but not hers. Still, even in fury, Hera retained dignity. She upheld the rituals of birth, guarded the rites of marriage, and remained the queen of Olympus, though her crown was heavy with bitterness. Below the sky, beneath waves that never slept, ruled another, Poseidon, god of the sea. He was the ocean's voice, from tranquil tides to roaring tsunamis. He claimed dominion over every wave, every storm, and, curiously, over horses too, though no one quite remembers why. Perhaps he liked the thunder of hooves as much as waves crashing on rock. Poseidon was a force of passion. He could bless a fisherman with calm waters, or drown a city in salt with a twist of his trident. He offered gifts, islands, springs, creatures, but could rescind them with rage if disrespected. When Athens chose Athena's olive tree over his briny spring, he shattered the earth in anger. His pride, like the sea, was easily stirred. He, too, had his share of entanglements. Nymphs, mortals, and Medusa, whose story, painful and sharp, is one we'll meet later. Poseidon's affairs often ended with curses, though rarely on him. And still, despite his chaos, sailors prayed to him. Builders honored him. For beneath the unpredictability, Poseidon brought life. The ocean was a highway and a provider. He was necessary. He was feared. And sometimes, he was kind. So in the heavens, Zeus ruled with lightning. In the oceans, Poseidon brooded with storms. And behind Olympus's golden doors, Hera sat quietly, waiting. Not for love, but for justice. Their stories are loud, but tonight we listen not for the thunder or the roar. We listen for what lingers in silence, the quiet truths behind divine titles. And as the stars wheel overhead, we descend deeper still, past the clouds, below the waves, into a kingdom not of wrath, but of silence, where a tired god waits in shadows, and the dead whisper stories that never end. But that, dear dreamer, is a tale for the next chapter. Let your breath soften, your thoughts slow, and follow me now beneath the earth, where shadows are patient and silence is sacred. In the realm beneath realms, where rivers run black and time forgets itself, lives a god not of fire, nor thunder, but of stillness. Hades, ruler of the underworld, brother to Zeus and Poseidon. His domain is not evil. It is not fire and pitchforks, as later tales would imagine. It is the land of endings, the final gate. The last breath turned to mist. When the gods divided the cosmos after overthrowing the Titans, Hades received the underworld, a place neither cursed nor cruel, but necessary. While Zeus ruled the sky and Poseidon stirred the seas, Hades kept the quiet ledger of souls. He is not loud. He does not shout. He does not seek attention. He keeps order. He ensures that no soul escapes, that the departed remain departed. His home is named after him, Hades, a place with regions for all kinds of endings. Elysium, where heroes rest in peace. Asphodel, a field of gray forgetfulness for ordinary lives. Tartarus, the deepest dark, where monsters and traitors fall into endless punishment. At the gates, a dog with 3 heads, Cerberus, guards the path, loyal only to the silence. Past him, no turning back. But even here, in this realm of endings, love found a strange and twisted path. For Hades, so calm and unreadable, fell in love. The object of his affection was Persephone, daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, a maiden of flowers and spring, innocent, bright, everything the underworld was not. Hades did not ask, he took. One day, while Persephone picked flowers in a meadow, the earth split open. From its heart rose Hades in his chariot of shadows. Without a word, he reached for her, and she was gone, swallowed by the earth. Above, Demeter screamed. Her grief became a curse on the world. Crops withered. Trees gave no fruit. Mortals starved as the ground refused to grow. Winter was born not from weather, but from mourning. Zeus, reluctant and distant, finally intervened. He brokered a deal. Persephone could return. If she had eaten nothing in the underworld. But she had. Just 6 seeds from a pomegranate, small but binding. And so the compromise was made. For part of the year, Persephone would walk in sunlight. For the rest, she would rule beside Hades in the dark. Thus came the seasons. When she rises, flowers bloom. When she descends, frost follows. And so, Hades, the most feared of gods, became part of a cycle of life, not just of death. His love, though stolen, became strangely stable, a partnership forged not in romance, but in rhythm. Above him, on Mount Olympus, another sibling reigned, not with death, but with wisdom. Athena, daughter of Zeus, but not born of a mother's womb. When Zeus feared a prophecy that his child would surpass him, he swallowed her mother, Metis, whole. Later, plagued by an unbearable headache, he called for help. With a mighty blow, his skull was cracked open, and from it sprang Athena, fully grown, armored, and already displeased. She was goddess of strategy, of wisdom, of crafts. Not war for war's sake, but war with purpose. Unlike her half-brother Ares, who roared into battle with rage, Athena saw conflict as a puzzle to be solved. Precise, clean, clever. She advised kings. She guided heroes. She watched with a cool gaze that missed nothing. And while other gods tangled themselves in love, jealousy, and betrayal, Athena remained alone. She was untouched by romance, uninterested in drama. Hers was a mind too busy, too sharp for distractions of the heart. Yet her pride could be as sharp as her spear. Once, a mortal girl named Arachne dared to claim her weaving was better than the goddess herself. They competed, thread against thread. And when Arachne's work matched, perhaps even surpassed Athena's, the goddess reacted not with praise, but with punishment. She transformed the girl into a spider, cursed to weave forever in silence. So yes, Athena was wise. But like all gods, she was also flawed. Meanwhile, Ares, the god of war in its rise form, watched from the battlefield's edge. Unlike Athena's controlled tactics, Ares was blood and chaos. Roaring chariots, clashing steel, fear, and fury. Even the gods found him tiresome. Zeus called him hateful. Others mocked him. And yet, in war, he thrived. He was the scream, the stampede, the moment when peace shatters. His sons were named Phobos Fear and Diamond's Terror. His love affair with Aphrodite was reckless, passionate, and ultimately humiliating. For she was already married to Hephaestus, the god of fire and craft, and when their affair was exposed, the entire pantheon laughed. Ares was powerful, but he was also predictable, a blunt sword in a world of clever blades. And somewhere in this divine chaos, Aphrodite herself continued her quiet war. She was more than beauty. She was desire incarnate, radiant, intoxicating, and dangerous. She too had her secrets. Her origins whispered of sea foam and violence, of Uranus, the sky god, whose fall birthed her from ocean spray. Others say she was Zeus's daughter. Either way, her presence could make even gods forget their vows. But Aphrodite's love was not tender. It burned. It wounded. She offered joy and heartbreak in the same breath. And when her worship was threatened, when mortals began to praise someone else for beauty and grace, she did not forgive. But that, dreamer, is where another story begins, of a girl named Psyche, of love struck by its own arrow, and of trials so deep they echoed through Olympus itself. Now we leave the gods for a moment and turn to someone mortal, a girl whose name would one day mean soul, a girl whose story began with beauty and nearly ended in despair. Her name was Psyche. She was born not to power, but to admiration. So beautiful was she that people came from distant lands just to see her, not to court her, but to worship her as if she were not human at all. Temples once built for Aphrodite stood empty. Priests watched in silence as garlands were laid not at the feet of a goddess, but at the feet of a girl. Psyche never asked for this. While others praised her face, she felt hollow inside, unseen, desired, but not loved, not truly. Men adored her like a painting, untouchable, distant. She passed through life like a shadow of her own image. Her sisters married noble men. Her parents worried. And Psyche remained untouched, unclaimed, unknown. Far above, Aphrodite watched. The goddess of beauty did not take insult lightly, and Psyche, though innocent, had become an offense she could not ignore. "They forget me," Aphrodite whispered. "Because of her." So she called her son, Eros, the god of desire, bearer of arrows that ignited longing where none existed. His weapons could bend kings and crumble empires with a single prick. Aphrodite's command was clear. Make her fall, not in love with a prince or poet, but with a monster. Something loathsome, hideous. Let her know what it feels like to be mocked by love. Eros obeyed, or so he tried. One night, under moonlight, he entered Psyche's chamber. She lay asleep, her breath soft. Candlelight played gently across her face. Eros drew an arrow, the cruel kind, and leaned in to mark her heart. But in his hesitation, the tip grazed his own skin. In that moment, the god of love fell in love himself. He had pierced countless hearts. Now, his own betrayed him. He vanished before Psyche stirred. But something had changed. He would no longer be his mother's weapon. He would be her secret guardian, watching from afar, loving in silence. But love, even divine, cannot remain hidden forever. Back on Earth, Psyche's beauty became a curse. No suitors came. Rumors spread of a divine punishment. Her father, desperate, sought the wisdom of the oracle of Apollo. The prophecy returned was cruel. She shall not wed a mortal. She is destined for a creature feared by gods and men alike. Send her to the mountaintop. Leave her alone. There, her husband will find her. Her parents wept. Her sisters trembled. But Psyche stood calm, not with bravery, but with resignation. She had never known love. Perhaps she would know only sacrifice. So she climbed. Up the mountain she went, dressed in ceremonial garb, eyes steady, heart quiet. But when she reached the summit, there was no beast, no teeth, no claws. Instead, the wind itself lifted her. Carried by invisible hands, she drifted down into a valley where stars whispered and marble halls rose like dreams. She awoke in a palace, perfect, silent, impossible. Invisible servants waited on her. Soft beds, warm food, gentle music, and each night, a voice, low, kind, warm. "You are safe," it said. "This is your home. He came to her only in darkness. He never showed his face. He held her close, whispered laughter into her ear, and vanished before dawn. Psyche was falling in love with a voice, with kindness, with a presence she could not name. But each time she asked to see him, he begged, "If you look upon me, I must leave you forever." And so she obeyed, for a time. But love that hides cannot stay hidden when others come calling. Her sisters, hearing tales of her paradise, begged to visit. Reluctantly, her unseen husband allowed it, with a warning. "They will try to undo what we've built. Don't let their words take root." When they arrived, they were stunned. Psyche lived like a goddess, dressed in finery, glowing with joy. But when she confessed that she had never seen her husband's face, their smiles turned sharp. "How can you love what you cannot see?" One asked. "What if he's hiding something? A beast? A curse?" They spoke with sweet concern, but beneath their words lay jealousy and doubt. "Just one glance," they whispered. "Take a lamp. Look, if he loves you, what harm can truth do?" That night, Psyche lay awake. The voice she loved held her close, but her mind spun. What if they were right? What if love should not hide? What if truth, not darkness, was the path to connection? When he fell asleep, she rose, silent, barefoot. In her hand, a small lamp. She lit the flame, stepped close, and there he was. Not a monster, not a stranger, but Eros, the god of love himself. Golden curls, serene lips, wings folded behind him. He had loved her, truly, deeply, and hidden it only to protect her from his mother's wrath. Tears filled her eyes. She leaned in to kiss him, to whisper that she understood. But fate is never gentle. A single drop of oil from the lamp slipped onto his skin. He woke, pain in his eyes. "You broke your promise," he said. "You chose fear over love." And then he vanished. The palace shattered. The night swallowed her. And Psyche, once held like treasure, was left alone, cold, barefoot, and broken. But her story was far from over. The stars were quiet the night Psyche lost him. No more silk sheets, no laughter in the dark, no warmth beside her in sleep. Only the memory of a face and the weight of a single mistake. She wandered the earth barefoot, seeking the one who had vanished, not into shadows, but into silence. Villagers whispered that she had been cursed. Her sister said she'd been deceived by a demon. Even her own family looked at her with disbelief. But Psyche no longer needed their belief. She needed only one thing, a way back to Eros. And so she did the only thing a mortal could do when lost between love and divinity. She went to the very goddess who had set this cruel story in motion, Aphrodite. Psyche approached not with pride, but humility. She found the goddess alone in a garden of mirrors, gazing at herself. When Psyche knelt, Aphrodite did not turn. "You dare return?" she said softly. "You who stole worship from my temples? Who betrayed my son?" Psyche lowered her head. "I love him," she said, "and I will do whatever it takes to prove I am worthy of that love." A long silence. Then a cold smile. "Then suffer," the goddess replied. "Endure, and maybe, just maybe, you'll earn a sliver of his forgiveness." Thus began the trials. Not of strength, not of war, but of devotion. Trial 1. The seeds of the world. Aphrodite led her to a chamber where countless seeds covered the floor. Piles of barley, lentils, beans, and millet, all mixed into chaos. By nightfall, Aphrodite said, yawning, "Sort every grain into its own pile. If you fail, you will never see him again." Then she vanished. Psyche knelt. She sorted, seed by seed, with trembling fingers. Hours passed, her eyes blurred, her heart ached. It was impossible, but the world was watching. Unseen to her, a line of ants had gathered at the edge of the room. Not ordinary ants, sacred creatures tied to Demeter, goddess of the harvest. Perhaps they pitied her. Perhaps love moved even insects. They rushed forward, forming rivers of movement, dividing each seed with perfect order. By dusk, the room was silent, and the task was done. When Aphrodite returned, her eyes narrowed. "You had help," she muttered. Psyche only bowed. There was no triumph in her voice, only stillness. Trial 2. The gold and the thorns. The next day, Aphrodite pointed to a field below. Wild rams grazed in the valley, their wool shimmering gold, their horns sharp as blades. "Bring me a handful of that fleece," the goddess said. "Try not to die." She disappeared. Psyche watched from the hills. The creatures below were not gentle. They clashed with each other, tore up roots, stomped at shadows. There was no way to enter their field without being torn apart. She sat down in defeat, heart pounding. But again, the world whispered. The reeds beside her swayed. A soft voice emerged, a river spirit, old and gentle. "Wait," it said. "At twilight, they sleep. Their fleece catches on the brambles. Take only what they leave behind." So she waited. As the sun dipped low, the rams wandered into the shadows, and Psyche crept into the field, gathering strands of golden wool from the thorns. She returned to Aphrodite with the fleece, shimmering, silent enough. No words passed between them, but the goddess did not smile. Trial 3. The water of the dead. Aphrodite's voice turned colder. "Now," she said, "bring me water from the river Styx." Psyche froze. The Styx was the river that marked the edge of death itself. Its waters were sacred, cursed, fatal to touch. Even the gods feared it. She journeyed to a jagged cliff, staring down at black waters swirling like smoke. Screaming winds, winged creatures guarding every path. There was no way down, no safe path, only impossible depth. She sat beneath a ledge, clutching the small crystal flask Aphrodite had mockingly handed her. Then came the shimmer. From the sky, an eagle descended, golden-eyed, vast-winged. A servant of Zeus, sent by a favor owed, or perhaps moved by Psyche's quiet resolve. The eagle took the flask, flew into the depths, and returned with a drop of the Styx's cursed water, sealed and glowing. Psyche bowed, not to the eagle, not to the sky, but to love itself. Even Aphrodite said nothing this time, but her final task would demand more than pain. It would demand death. The final trial came not with thunder, but with quiet cruelty. Aphrodite's voice was calm, too calm. "Go," she said, "to the underworld. Ask Queen Persephone for a box of her beauty. Bring it to me. I'm feeling tired." She smiled, not kindly. Psyche said nothing, not because she wasn't afraid, but because fear no longer ruled her, love did. To reach the land of the dead, she found an ancient cave, a hidden crack in the earth whispered to her by kind voices. Some say it was the meter who guided her. Others say the earth itself wept for her and opened the path. She took with her 3 things: 2 coins for the boatman, 3 barley cakes for the hound with many heads, and her own resolve, thin but unbroken. Down she went, past roots and rot, past echoes and ash, into the stillness where memories forget themselves. She reached the river Akron, where Charon, the boatman, ferried her across in silence. She met Cerberus, the monstrous guardian, and fed him the cakes until his snarls faded into sleep. And then the queen. Persephone sat upon her throne, her eyes calm, her voice neither cold nor warm. "You come for beauty," she said, "but not for yourself." "No," Psyche replied. "It is for Aphrodite." The queen studied her, then handed her a small box, unmarked, sealed, and impossibly heavy. "Do not open it," she warned. "Its contents are not meant for mortal eyes." Psyche bowed and began the long journey back. The final mistake. The path grew lighter, the air warmer. Soon, she could feel the sun returning, brushing against her skin like forgiveness. And yet, doubt returned, soft and insistent. What if she used just a little of the beauty? What if, with it, she could be enough for Eros again, radiant, divine, worthy? "Just a peek," she whispered. She opened the box. But there was no glow, no beauty. Only sleep, thick, ancient, eternal. Not death, not rest, a curse of stillness. The box spilled mist like shadowed breath, and Psyche fell, quietly. She lay on the grass near the living world, not dead, but not alive, caught in the still pause between breaths. It should have ended there, but love, real love, does not end so easily. The return of the god of love. Far away, Eros felt her fall. He had watched from Olympus, healed his wound, obeyed his mother. But his heart, the one struck by his own arrow, still beat for Psyche. He had watched her face danger, sorrow, judgment. He had seen her endure, falter, rise, and fall again. And now, she was gone. So he flew, faster than storms, wings burning gold. He found her where the earth meets sky, motionless, the box beside her. He wept, not with thunder, but with quiet rage, for the gods, for fate, for himself. He sealed the box. He leaned down, and he kissed her. Not a magical kiss, not a spell, but a promise. And she woke, eyes fluttering open, breath returning. "You came back," she whispered. "I never left," he answered. The trial ends, and the soul rises. They return together, not in defiance, but in truth, to Olympus, to judgment. Aphrodite was furious. "She is mortal," she cried. "She defied me. She stole my son. She deserves punishment." But Zeus, king of the gods, rose from his throne. He had watched all of it, and he said only this: "There is power in love that endures." He offered Psyche a goblet of ambrosia, the drink of the gods. "Drink and become one of us, not because you were born divine, but because you proved it." She drank. Warmth filled her, not like fire, but like roots finding soil. She became more than mortal, not a goddess of lightning or vengeance, but of something quieter, deeper, the goddess of the soul. Her name, Psyche, had always meant that. Now Olympus would remember it. And beside her, Eros, god of love, stood not as her captor, but as her equal. After they were married before the stars, the fates smiled, the gods bowed. Even Aphrodite, though silent, looked away. Together, Eros and Psyche had a daughter, Hedone, goddess of delight. And long after the temples crumbled and stories changed, their tale remained. Not in marble, but in every soul that has loved, doubted, fallen, and risen again. Sleep now, gentle listener, for love, true love endures, even across the realms of gods and dreams.